Hi everyone, my name is Nisarg Vyas and I'll be continuing your course on Electrodynamics 1. Today's topic is Maxwell's equations. So before we start, let me give you all my very short and sweet introduction. My name, as I told, is Nisarg Vyas. This is my email ID and this is my mobile number. You can contact me anytime during this course if you have any doubt in this course. Though I prefer my email ID over my mobile, but you can text me or call me if there are some urgent situations. Okay. Email will be better if it is not urgent. Okay. I'll try to answer your as many doubts as possible, and if I don't know, I'll try to take help from somebody and I'll try to answer most of your doubts. All the other details about me are not relevant right now. So the way you think of me after attending this course is real me. Okay, all my past achievements and degrees and marks doesn't matter. The way you think about me after attending this course is real me. Thank you. So this was my short introduction. But before we start this course, I had a few doubts before continuing the module, the unit from Clement sir, that why should I teach this module? I thought about it and then I came up with two objectives. The first objective is that why you must be able to answer after each and every topic why you are learning that topic. Like today's topic is Maxwell's equation. It is my objective to make you answer why. You must be able to answer why are you learning that topic in the first place. When I was a student in my BSc, I was a student of physics, of course, but I had to study a paper of electronics. I always had a doubt. Why are we studying the paper of electronics when I am a physics student? I had this doubt. Okay. So from that point, I decided that I'll try to tell my students why we are studying something if we are studying that. So this is my first objective, that you must be able to answer why after every lecture, after every topic that you have studied, you must be able to answer why have you studied that topic in the first place. So this is my first objective, and my second objective is to increase problem solving approach in you so that you can appear in good competitive exams, and there are high chances that you can clear those competitive exams. So I'll try to give you some problems after each lectures, and I'll recommend that you solve them on your own, and if you can't solve them on your own, you can take help from your friends, but take help. Do not be dependent on your friends. Just take help from them. Yes. So this is to increase problem solving approach, and the first is you must know why after every single lecture. I'll try to make sure that this happens I'll try to make sure, yes, that this happens. You must be knowing emotionally why are you studying this topic, and logically why are you studying this topic, and we'll try to dig deeper into these objectives. But these two are my objectives. What are your objectives? As every semester starts, I used to be a student once, and right now also I try to learn. So at the beginning of every semester, we try to think that इस semester में तो फोड़ देंगे. This attitude, if it is there, that is your objective, and to make sure that you attain your goals of फोड़ देंगे, here are two simple things that you need to do to get maximum marks out of this course. You must need to attend all the classes, and you need to do tutorials very honestly. Tutorials means I'll be giving you 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 questions after each lectures. So you need to attend those questions. You need to attempt them. If you do them and if you attend all the classes, I think you will understand from this course very much. This journey is going to be beautiful, believe me. Yes. So these are my objectives. Okay. So let's start the beautiful journey of electrodynamics. But before I start today's topic, I want to make sure that we are on the same page on the previous topic. So let me comment on what we already know. I just want to make sure that we are on the same page on all the previous topics. So I'll just comment on what do we already know before starting today's topic, which is Maxwell's equation. So this is the beginning. You have studied electrodynamics in 12th standard. You have studied electrodynamics in semester 1 or semester 2 maybe. in physics, and you know a lot of electrodynamics. Semester 3, 4, I think also you have studied electrodynamics. So I am going to just summarize what do we already know in electrodynamics. That is going to be my first step. So the first thing is that charge produces electric field. If you have any charge, that let us say it is a positive Q charge, it will produce electric field, and if it is a positive charge, the electric field will go radially outwards. Don't go on my drawing, it is not symmetric and it is not to the scale also, but yes, I think you get the point. What am I trying to say here? Yes, my drawing is like that only, friend of Picasso. So yes, if you have a positive charge, this red one is the positive charge, positive Q charge, then you have a diverging electric field from that charge. So charge produces electric field. If you have a negative Q charge, then what happens? If you have a charge which is negative Q maybe, then you have the electric field which is converging into the charge. This is called converging electric field. The electric field is converging into the charge if you have a negative charge, and electric fields magnitudes decrease as we go far from the source or from the charge. So its magnitude keeps on decreasing as we move far away from the charge, and the thing is that from positive charge the electric field diverges, from negative charge the electric field converges to the negative charge, but in the end charge produces electric field. So if you have got a charge distribution like this, some random shape of charge distribution, if it is positive charge distribution or negative charge distribution, it can be anything, there is always an electric field associated with a charge distribution. For a charge distribution we define something called rho, which is nothing but charge density. We know this term already. It is charge density, means charge per unit volume or unit area or unit length, anything. So this is charge density. For rho particularly we use for charge per unit volume, for charge per unit area we use sigma, and for charge per unit length we use lambda. So it is sigma for Q by A and lambda for Q by L. These are the notations we are going to use in this course, so maybe I think you will be familiar. I know for some of you I am going too slow to begin with, but believe me, just hold on with me for some time, and I think you will get good results in the end of this lecture. Yes, so if you have some charge density, the electric field diverges. If it is a positive charge density, then electric field diverges always from the charge density. If you have some positive charge distribution, or it converges into the charge distribution if it is negative charge distribution. Then overall we know that charge produces electric field. That is what we know, number one. Okay, what do we know, number two? If you take a magnet, there are two magnetic poles. If you take a bar magnet, there are two poles, we call them north pole and south pole, and the magnetic field lines, they go like this. These are magnetic field lines, they go like this. Magnetic field lines, they go like this. Magnetic field lines, they go like this. These are the magnetic field lines. They go from north pole to south pole. Inside also they go like this. Inside the magnet, from inside the magnet they don't go like this, they go the opposite way, from south to north. But outside the magnet you see that the field lines go from north pole to south pole, from north pole to south pole, from north pole to south pole. So all the field lines are rotating. If you see, this line is going from here to here, this line is going from here to here, this line is going from here to here, this line is going from here to here. So they have some kind of curvature, and we call this curling. This curvature, we call this in mathematical terms curling. The way I said, from charges the electric field diverges, there is some kind of curling. But what I want to make sure is that if you break this magnet from the middle, if you break this magnet from the middle, and if you break it in two parts, the north pole was here initially and the south pole was here initially, then what happens is, if you break the magnet, take a knife and break this magnet into two parts, then what you have got is two magnets. You can't separate those two poles apart. You can't have a monopole in magnet. You can't separate two poles. Like you can't have, this is only north pole and this is only south pole. Like we used to have, there is only positive charge and there is only negative charge. You can't have, there is only north pole and there is only south pole. You can never have that. And that's why we say that magnetic monopoles do not exist. But I've written something like this. Till date means there are some experiments going on in the universe, of course, but I don't know if they can make it or not. But there are some experiments going on in the world right now to find the magnetic monopole. Okay, this north and south, you can't have a magnetic monopole. It means that if you take any surface around the magnet, like let us take the single magnet, do not keep these two magnets. Okay, let us take the single magnet, and if for this single magnet north to south, if you enclose the magnet into any surface, you won't find any magnetic field lines, B field lines, going outwards, like diverging. You won't find any. If you see from outside the surface, you won't find any magnetic field lines diverging from this surface, because the field lines going out from the north pole will always curl back and come inside the south pole, always. You will never find any divergence in magnetic field. Like we used to have the divergence in electric field from the charge, you will never find the divergence in magnetic field. Okay, so magnetic monopoles do not exist means you won't find any divergence in magnetic field. Just like this, if you take these two charges together, you call it electric dipole. I think you know this. So this is electric dipole, and in electric dipole also electric field lines do not diverge, because they diverge from positive charge and they converge to the negative charge. So they originate and then they stop here, they originate and then they stop here. So if you take any surface and enclose both of these charges, positive q and negative q, then you won't find the divergence outside that surface of the electric field, because you won't find any field lines going out and coming back inside. So that is what we already know. You can't find divergence of electric field if you enclose a dipole inside a surface. The same way, if you enclose a magnet inside a surface, you won't find any divergence of magnetic field. So this is the way to tell that you won't find any magnetic monopole. Magnetic monopole do not exist. What do we know? Third, if you take a loop, there was a guy called Faraday, and he did this experiment wonderfully. If you take a loop of wire, and what you do is you connect the ends of the loop with a bulb. Okay, this is, I know you guys are electronic students, and this is a very bad symbol of bulb to draw at the first place, but I'll write it is a bulb. Okay, so there is a bulb and there is a loop of wire, and if you take a magnet with north and south poles associated with it, and what you need to do is, what Faraday did was he pushed the magnet into the coil or into this loop of wire, and he saw that the bulb lit up. He again extracted the magnet from the loop, and he again saw that bulb lit up. But when he kept the magnet into the loop only, he kept it there stationary, the bulb did not lit up. So he used to see the bulb light up whenever he used to change the magnetic field into the loop. So he said that if you change the magnetic field, that is, if you change the magnetic field with respect to time, that is time varying magnetic field, it is always going to produce the EMF in the loop. So it is going to produce EMF. What is EMF? EMF is potential, and potential is related to electric field. So you can generate electric field in this loop. So you can always you can have a curly electric field if you change the magnetic field with time. So this magnetic field, if you change it with time, you are going to have a curly electric field. That we do know from the Faraday's experiment. He used to do this kind of experiment, and we have seen this kind of experiments we have used this fact or phenomena in generator and motors and all those things. Yes. So time varying magnetic field produces EMF. There is the third thing we do know. I'm going too slow. I know I'm going too slow, but hold on for 5 minutes, 5 more minutes. Yes. Okay. And the fourth is the wonderful part. There was a school teacher named Oersted. Hans Oersted, and he noticed, this is the beauty, that when he was explaining to his student a circuit, he was explaining to his student a DC circuit, and he was passing a current, and maybe he was lighting up a bulb in this circuit. Let's draw a circuit in a good way, like a proper circuit and a bulb. he was lighting up a bulb using a current circuit, and when accidentally there was a compass placed near, there is a compass is a small magnet, so there was a compass placed near the wire in which the current was passing and the bulb was lighting up. So he was a primary school teacher, Ostrad, and when he passed this current, the compass was there accidentally. He didn't wanted to put it there, but it was there, and it was his brilliance to notice that compass this magnet moved, it deflected, it got deflected. It was his intelligence to observe this thing. Many times we do not observe the small things happening around us, and it was the intelligence of Ostrad that we remember him today, that he observed, he noticed this thing, that yes, compass needle is deflecting if we pass current into this. So needle of the compass is deflecting if we pass current into this, or current means the electric field. If you pass the electric field here, or if you pass current here, it is not electric field. If you pass current here, the compass's needle is deflecting. The same thing, Ampere. There was a guy called Ampere. Its correct pronunciation is Ampere. He is a French scientist. So he took this idea further and did some experiments, that if you keep two parallel wires and if you drive a current into them parallelly, in the same direction, then somehow they attract. And if you keep those two wires only and you drive current into them in opposite directions, then what happens is these two wires repel. These wires will come here, like the black dotted lines means they will come there. So they do repel each other. So they do repel each other if the currents are in opposite direction, and they do attract each other if the currents are in same direction. And the only way to explain this fact is, when you pass the current, the wire produces some magnetic field around them. So it is the Curly magnetic field. So only way to explain this experiment was to imagine that when you pass a current into the wire, somehow you create a magnetic field which is going round the wire. It is curly like this. If you have a wire where the magnetic field, the current is going like this, you will find the magnetic field like this. So it is curling magnetic field. It's going round and round, like the electric field was going round and round in Faraday's experiment. Here the magnetic field was curling round and round if we pass the current into the wire. So this was the way he defined his law, that when you pass a current into something in some wire, you will have a curling magnetic field around that wire. So we know this four things, only four things we do know. And if we were to be in the Maxwell's classroom, the James Clerk Maxwell, his equations we are going to study today, if we were in the Maxwell's classroom, we knew only these four things. Okay, so these four things would make up four laws. So let's summarize those laws mathematically. The first law, it tells us that electric field diverges from a charge distribution. So there is a charge distribution, charges produces electric field. First law, simple law, we know this. Second law, magnetic field never diverges, because there is no magnetic monopole from where it can diverge. There is magnet always exists in a dipole. So the magnetic field diverging from one pole always converges into other pole. So magnetic field never diverges. This is the second equation. There was this third equation which we call Faraday's equation, that if we change the magnetic field with respect to time, you produce the electric field into that coil, that is curly electric field. And this minus sign is experimentally there because the change in magnetic field produces EMF, but in opposite direction, opposite of the change. So this minus sign is because of the experiments. So till now everything is going the experiments way. We have the experiments and we know these things, and that's why we have formulated these four laws. And the fourth law, if you have a current, this J is a current density. I'll get back to it. But if you have a current in a wire, current density, what do I mean by current density? It means current per unit area. Current per unit area means current density. And if you have a current in any wire, you have a curly magnetic field. This is a curl. there is a curl, and divergence, there is a curl. If you have a current in some wire, you have a curly magnetic field. So these were the 4 laws before Maxwell. These were the 4 laws before Maxwell used to be in the field. So these were the 4 laws. If we had been into Maxwell's classroom, then we must have thought that this is all electrodynamics is, let's study. But Maxwell was not that guy. He used to find some problems in these laws. Actually, at that time, these laws were not precisely written like this in this compact form of 4 equations only. There were 22 odd equations or more equations, and Maxwell, what he did was he combined those equations and made them compressed into 22 equations. There were 40 some equations, and he compressed them and made 20 equations of his own. And at that time, this divergence and curl was not available to work with mathematically, so he used component wise laws for each and every part, each and every equation. So it made somewhere around 20 equations that he called Maxwell's equation. But he found some trouble in those equations. We are not going to see those 20 equations and the trouble. We are going to see here these 4 equations. We are going to see what is the trouble here. Okay, all these 3 equations. Okay, this 4th equation is called Ampere's law, Ampere's law or Ampere's law, because it was discovered by Ampere that current produces curly magnetic field. So it was Ampere's law. So there was some fixing needed to be done in Ampere's law.